We're going to listen to a lovely keynote speaker in a minute. Let me introduce him the way he deserves. And I prepare it, so that I have to read this because it's automatic technology. Silence. Automatic technology touches all of us every day. For the automobile industry, digital transformation means using the vehicle as a platform to deliver software-based services based on data, sensors, and analytics. In this rapid approaching future, cars represent a swift towards a truly mobile Internet of Things world and an autonomous vehicles. Can't pronounce that. To talk about this subject, we brought an expert in the field. A born inspirational, motivational leader. He's an American living in Berlin, not an Englishman living in New York, according to Sting. And he leads the Uplink European Business and Partner Development Initiative within Ford. This is Ford's smart mobility connectivity solution, which enables drivers to voice control smartphone apps. I mean, this is something really cool. You speak to the car, and the car does what you say, something like that. But let's hear it from him. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Scott Lyons. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Right.
The floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Wow, IoT, let's throw in all the kind of lovely phrases. No. So I see the clock ticking already. There we go. Yeah, right. So thank you for sticking around. I know there's a lot of other topics and interesting things going on at the moment. But I want to give you a little bit of a snapshot into what's going on within the automotive space. Clearly, it's being disrupted thanks to our friends at Tesla and everything else going on around the world. So I welcome that. It's a very good thing, and it's a really interesting time to be at Ford, which is a very old company. Let's just say that. So there really is a major opportunity ahead for developers that are considering the automotive space. Historically, the automotive space has been closed. Automotive grade, no, if you're not automotive grade, forget it. We were not capable as an industry to actually work with startups. But now I actually spend about 95% of my time actually looking for new ideas and looking for services and partners that we want to work with. And some of these guys are actually, two guys in their garage. And could we have done that a couple years ago? Definitely not. The point that we want to focus on is obviously avoiding this. I mean, it's an amusing idea that some guy is shaving in his car or you're watching videos while you're driving, but it's a problem. And the reason that we are focused on delivering services through what we call Uplink is because we want to avoid people touching their smartphones, which is, of course, a major, major problem. But what I want to talk about today is really around the fact that we're looking at the car in a different way. Obviously, it's a car. It's a big hunk of metal. But the area that we're focused on now is looking at it as a software platform. And what McKinsey have said, so it must be true, is that the average high-end car today has 7 times more lines of code than a Boeing 787. And every time I say that, people are freaked out. What? And of course, I think about that when I'm sitting on the plane, because it does kind of freak me out too. But it really is true. The car today is super complex. And what that means is that we've got to look at it now as a platform. It is a software platform. So we're really increasingly kind of connected. I'm not going to talk about the IoT. I'm going to try to avoid these phrases at the moment. But really at the moment, I guess if you've seen Google's announcement the other day about their home, about Pixel, and what obviously Amazon are doing with Alexa, it's a really interesting space. We're doing something with Alexa. We've announced that too. So you can sit in the car and say, hey, Alexa. Where we're going with this whole industry is obviously allowing people to, of course, interact with different experiences while they're driving. So we look at this from this perspective of the driver here as, well, how do you deliver these experiences? And so it's about kind of driving this innovation and using technology to drive that innovation. So, looking at the fact that you've got this nice 8-inch touchscreen in the middle of your console, how do you take advantage of that? How do you actually push people to stop using their smartphone or their tablet, really, to actually interact with experiences? Just because you get in the car doesn't mean you want to stop interacting with your phone. It's simply too much of a draw. We all feel guilty for doing it, but we do it. Right. Well, this is the kind of Mac to PC transition here. But you can see here, and this is a really interesting statistic, that today, cars, we're talking here about Fusion Energy and the Explorer, are actually delivering a significant amount of data. I mean, 25 gigabytes per hour of data is a lot of data. And what do you do with all that data? How do you kind of interpret it to deliver certain experiences that make sense? Of course, there's privacy concerns, and we've addressed some of those things. Your data is yours. It's anonymized, and there's clearly a lot of things that a lot of people want to get access to, but we got to be careful with that. But for us, it's about kind of increasing this information flow from the vehicle itself. So I think if you think about what we've announced I think it was now maybe 2 months ago, was that we were going to have an autonomous SAE Level 4 autonomous vehicle by 2021. That's not far off, if you think about it. But how do you actually deliver that experience? And how do you actually deliver an autonomous vehicle into market? The level of data that's required in order to deliver that experience is kind of mind-blowing. So for us, all of this stuff needs to be integrated, meaning that you're driving down the road, the vehicle itself needs to know what other vehicles are around, what path, what the lights changing or not changing. All of these things are all super connected. And of course, the cloud will play a major part of that. But ultimately, this interaction between the cloud and the vehicle will commence, and it's already happening at the moment. And one of the things that we talk about, and this kind of phrase that we've come up with, is called drive. We thought, well, hey, there's wearables. Why not drivables? So we said, yeah, sure. But we're not using the drivables phrase in the way that you'd think it is. Of course, we make cars. They are drivable. But what we do is we think about experiences. For example, you've got a smartphone experience, Spotify, for example. You want to use it on your smartphone. It's tapping away on your smartphone, listening to music. But how do you actually translate that experience into the car in a safe way? We work with Spotify. We spent some time thinking about use cases that made sense. And now, of course, you can interact with Spotify by your voice or by actually interacting with it on the screen itself. We removed some of the major use cases that you've got within the native app because it didn't make sense to be done in the car. As an example, do you want a free-form search out of Spotify's, 5 million tracks, or whatever it is today, while you're driving down the road? No. Do you want to actually listen to your playlists and perhaps discover other music based on some of the artists that you're listening to? Yes. So we basically work with them to actually create and deliver that experience in car. So what we mean by drivables is actually translating an experience from the smartphone into the car, making it drivable. In fact, my colleague has a talk tomorrow morning in this room at 9:30 or 9:40, talking specifically about drivables and how to make those experiences ready for the car. So for us, it's all about a number of different balances around how do we actually think about whether an application or a service is appropriate for the car itself. Meaning, does it fit? I've had people come to me and say, hey, we got a game. We've got the next Angry Birds game. I mean, do we really want to have that while we're driving down the road? I don't think so. At least we're not in that world right now. But people think of it. We think really closely about use cases. That actually takes the longest, thinking about how do you translate that, as I said before with Spotify example, how do you translate that into the car itself? We review these use cases. We make sure that they make sense. Of course, we test. We're Ford. We got to make sure that people understand that these things are going to work. Because, of course, if your app isn't working in the car, who are they going to call? Ford. Although it's not our app, we got to take care of it. So I'll give you an example. We do host regular challenges, hackathons, if you want to call it that, around the world. In fact, we just had one in Berlin a couple of weeks ago. And it's a great way for us to actually interact and engage with companies that are interested in getting into the car. And we actually do end up working with a lot of these companies afterwards. So obviously the experience isn't just coming and hacking away in our kit for 24 hours. It's actually real opportunities to work with us. But the example I have here of MyBoxman. So this is a French company. Interesting name for an app. But we met them last year at Web Summit in Dublin, and they participated in our event. And what they do is it's a really interesting kind of mobility solution, whereas it allows you to, I know it. It allows you to basically take a job of picking up and dropping off a package. So for example, if you're sitting around and you think, well, I'm going to go from Berlin to Hamburg, well, why shouldn't I just make money driving from Berlin to Hamburg and drop off a package? So in the car, it'll tell you these are the actual packages that are available, what's in the package, where you go pick it up, how much money, et cetera, et cetera. It's all insured. It's not meant to be your full-time job. You're meant to make money off of this thing as a side thing. But you can make money. It's on average, I think, about a euro per kilometer, something along those lines. So this has been available in France, and we think it's a really innovative idea to kind of democratize, in a way, the ability to pick up and drop off, but also make money. So I'm not going to go into a lot of these statistics, but basically, a lot of people want to use their phone in the car. They want to surf. They want to say, I want to stream music in the car. I want to dictate and read emails while I'm driving. If you have an idea around productivity, I'd love to hear it. Because I think that there clearly are a lot of people that want to continue their experiences in a safer way while they're driving. However, today, it's very challenging to deliver that, because the temptation to pick up your phone and look about, well, what meeting do I have, or what email am I having, or whatever, is simply too great. We're not in the world of where the car is driving itself. It's coming. It's coming. But as I mentioned before, we've got kind of three different kind of connectivity solutions that we focus on at Ford. Built-in, which is kind of embedded. So embedded modem is coming, meaning that the car itself would have connectivity. Other automakers have that. Brought in is with the group that I work within, which means we have AppLink, which literally is our linking technology. CarPlay, Android Auto operate within the same space as well. And then we've got beamed in. So beamed in is basically satellite. There are satellite solutions in the US, Sirius XM, if you've ever experienced that. Whoops, I might have skipped something. Right. So this is the thing about this is that there's clearly a major opportunity here in terms of making money. Klaus Schwab, who founded the World Economic Forum, is really talked about the fact that there's billions of WhatsApp messages being sent every day, and do you want to stop using that experience while you're in the car? Now, as I mentioned before, Ford, over 100-year-old company, is what I would consider to be old economy, old tech. A lot of my colleagues don't like that phrase, but unfortunately it's true. And new tech, of course, is a startup. And so as we kind of, I guess, progress our business, we've got to think about how do we start, or how do we continue to work with startups in a meaningful way? Because in a way, it's kind of like oil and vinegar. We're a very large company that any time I want to do something, I've got to talk to procurement department, and I've got to get a purchase order out the door, and whatever you want to call it. Startups don't deal with that kind of stuff, and thank God they don't, because it's a real pain. For us, we've got to innovate faster, and so it means that we've got to change the way that we approach business. So fortunately, the group that I'm working in and the business and responsibility that I have means that I can actually run much faster. It means that I can actually interact with startups, do a deal with them, make their app available in our vehicles within a very short amount of time, within 3 months. Meaning it's not embedded in our cars, it's still living on the smartphone, but it allows us to market applications and services to our customers, which of course we've got a lot around the world. So I'm not going to go into the fact that yes, we do, of course we have to like startups. I mean, if we don't, we're really in trouble, because simply the innovation that's happening within that space is just absolutely massive. So we're now starting to actually acquire companies, finally, or license their technology. We're now set up as a company through our Ford Smart Mobility kind of LLC, which was, I think, started about 6 months ago, to actually focus on mobility, specifically on mobility. Because the issue with mobility, which I'll get to here, is, I'll come back to these slides, is the fact that we've got to change the way the world moves, otherwise we're in trouble. Meaning that we as a company can't just rely on selling our vehicles anymore. We actually have to be able to sell services, and that's the critical point. But back to this thing, and I love the talk about Smart Device Link because it's an open source, is basically AppLink itself, the technology that I talked about, is actually open sourced, meaning that you can take it, it's available. Other OEMs, other manufacturers, have actually decided to adopt SDL, and so that means that if you integrate our SDK, which is fairly simple, we've actually had developers do it within a couple of hours, where it's already interacting with our with our vehicles. You can voice control it, images appear on our screens, etc. But the great thing about Smart Device Link is that other OEMs and other companies are adopting this technology. So it's not just for Ford. Yeah, we sell a lot of cars, but people want to have the bigger opportunity. So this is basically what that is. So on to the topic of smart mobility. I mean, the thing is this, is this smart mobility that we're looking at here, this lovely image of e-vehicles and bikes? Yes, definitely. Is this the vision of smart mobility? And this was a concept that we announced, I think it was even maybe 2 years ago, where we had a vehicle and this e-bike, and you were able to have the e-bike in the back of the vehicle plugged in, charging. And the vision that I had with this was that if you are a delivery guy and you're going to be late because there's traffic, and I've experienced some of the Madrid traffic this morning, or any traffic in any city, and you're going to be late, well, why can't the vehicle tell you to get out, get on the bike, and make the delivery proactively, right? Most of the services that you have today are services that you've got to go actively in and ask, what's going on? Is it, traffic, et cetera, alternative route, et cetera. What I'd like to be able to see, and we're actively looking for this, is to be able to proactively offer opportunities, multimodal opportunities for our drivers to basically get out, use an e-bike, use public transportation. So the idea of car sharing, and of course Car2Go are here outside, I believe. This idea, funnily enough, is not new. I kind of went online and I found this old advert. Ironically, it's from, I guess, during the war in America, the World War, but they're using, of course, a Volkswagen Beetle, which is very amusing. Fill those empty seats. I mean, car sharing is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time. Where we are now is just the technology has allowed it to actually happen on a much bigger scale. Smartphone applications, embedded solutions, embedded modems in cars can now deliver this experience. And that's really, really interesting. For you as developers, and I'm assuming some of you are developers, the opportunity is really there now within the automotive space. So this is changing for us at the moment. When I wrote this, it was true, and now we're kind of not so true. But basically, which is a crazy number, 2.3 trillion is the global automotive market, a lot of money. But 5.4 trillion is the mobile services economy. Well, they've already beaten the global automotive market is worth less than the mobile services economy. That's nuts. It's nuts. So how do we, at the moment when I wrote this, we got zero from that. Ford make no money from the mobile services economy. Think about that. I mean, that's nuts. That's changing now. We've made some acquisitions and that will change. But at the moment, we're a very small fish in that space. So the idea here is, of course, that there's 1 billion vehicles on the road today. And you know what? I can't stand it. I'm not a fan of traffic. It stresses me out. But the crazy thing is by 2050, 2 billion. Now, how do you actually deal with that? 2 billion. Can you imagine like 2 billion vehicles on the road? And we're at 1 billion today? I mean, it would be simply global gridlock. Also the key thing here is all the people moving into cities. We're heading towards a real problem unless we do something about it. So the key thing for us is, and around smart mobility, is how do we actually avoid some of the global gridlock situations that are coming? And for what we've done, and this is kind of a little bit nuts, is that we've changed our vision. So this was our vision for the last, 100 years. People working together as a lean global enterprise to make people's lives better through automotive leadership. Makes sense, right? But we've added a word now, or we have added 2 words, and mobility. So if you go to Wikipedia, or you go to our official Ford.com website, this is what it says. It's changed. We're changing as a company, and this is where we're going. So I like the idea of what's happening. Lyft, of course, they put this up in LA. This was never supposed to happen. I agree. You're on a road. It was designed to get you from A to B and not stress you out. I took that picture because I thought it was really funny, because it really is totally true. We're all working on it. And wow, this slide really came out nicely, didn't it? But anyway, there's a whole range of solutions that are coming from different providers. Sharing a vehicle, sharing a ride, sharing a lease. We actually now offer people the ability to share a lease. If the entire front row decided that they wanted to pool together to lease a vehicle, we would offer you as a group a lease. That's something that is really interesting. We've had to change. So very quickly, because I've got 1 minute and 4 seconds left, my personal mobility and why I'm passionate about this space. I live in Berlin, as we said. This is my bike. I do take public transport when it's not too hot outside. I do attempt to do that. I drive occasionally, and I also do car share, meaning I do actually use car sharing. I'm a big Drive Now fan, and I don't own a car. I've never owned a car. And in fact, when I met Bill Ford once at one of our events, I told him, I said, you know, I've never owned a car. And he said, you're one of those kind of people. So Ford need to figure out how to sell something to me and how to make money from me, because I'm never going to buy a car, but I'm willing to consume services. And the amount of money that I spend right now with Drive Now every month could go up to 300 euros a month. That's pretty good money. It's almost to the point of paying for a lease. So, network of solutions, everything's interconnected. Last 3 seconds, everything's being connected together. Seamless, multimodal is really a very, very interesting topic, and it's something that I want you to go in to really, I guess, as a lasting message for me to think about. We've got a lot of experiments happening around the world, 25 of them. They're all focused on mobility. They're all focused in various different parts of the world. So I think that that's the last thing. I love going back into our old advertising and pulling up. That's definitely not a connected car, but it's funny nonetheless. It looks like John F. Kennedy driving in it, doesn't it? I guess everyone at that point was looking like JFK. Right, anyway, thank you very much. If you've got questions, I don't think we have time for questions, so if you've got questions, I'll be around for a little while afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.